Signing clients in 2025 has never been harder for the average agency. With the barrier of entry hitting all-time lows, markets are getting more saturated and you're probably seeing less results from your outreach. What worked just a couple of years ago is not working right now. That's why I wanted to share with you the exact blueprint that grew my lead gen agency to generating over $1 million in revenue over the past 3 years and is currently still booking us 30 to 50 meetings a month on complete autopilot. I will be sharing everything from how to build your email lists to how to write killer copy that turns cold prospects into qualified calls. If you're looking for help signing clients, feel free to join my completely free school community. Link is in the description. But without further ado, let's get into it. So in this section of the video, I'm going to be going over exactly how you can create your own cold email infrastructure. Okay, so this is one of the most important parts about deliverability for cold email in 2025 is getting the proper infrastructure set up. If you don't have this, you're simply going to land in people's spam inboxes, which is exactly what we want to avoid, right? So with the correct infrastructure set up, we will avoid landing in people's spam. This is going to cover everything from the basics to some more advanced strategies. So wherever you're at in your cold email journey, it is worth paying attention to this module. Okay, so we'll start with the basics and we'll get a little bit more advanced. For the premise of this video, I'm actually going to be going over the basics if you're using Instantly.ai, right? And I'll show you how to get stuff set up on Instantly. If you're using SmartLead or you're already, well aware of the cold email space, then I would continue to use SmartLead. I'm just going to show you how you do this on Instantly. The same principles and the same workflows will apply to SmartLead, and wherever possible, I'll show you how you can do it on SmartLead as well. So if you're not on Instantly, don't fear, this video will still be useful. But if you're starting from complete scratch, this will give you everything you need step by step to actually get a campaign running. So the first thing to actually note around this infrastructure setup is why we need an infrastructure in the first place and what it looks like, right? So the whole purpose of cold email relies on volume to see results. Whether you like it or not, that is the truth around this. You absolutely need volume to be getting results. If you're sending like 50 emails a day, it's simply not going to work, right? Because the cold email funnel is very tight. Like we need to put a lot in at the top just to get a few results because it is ultimately a form of cold outreach. So there's a lot of friction involved in the process. People don't really want to hear from us unless we have an incredible offer, which I'll also teach you how to develop. But it just means there's a lot of friction in the process. So we need a lot of volume to get responses, right? We could be typically looking at a 2 to 4% reply rate from cold email, and then maybe 15 to 25% of these replies being positive. Okay, so if you work back the numbers, you need to really be sending thousands of emails to actually get results. Okay, so then the question is, okay, how do we send thousands of emails? You either have one email account, right? And you try and send thousands from this, and you end up in spam, or you create your infrastructure. So what the infrastructure actually looks like is how we split up domains and email accounts in order to make the most cost-effective infrastructure possible, whilst also landing in people's inboxes. Okay. So instead of sending from one email account, we actually want to send from multiple. Now, what we want to do is have a series of domains, and these will be domains that are very similar to your main domain. So let's assume, and this is correct for my agency, my main domain is acquired.com. Some domain examples, like these ones, of what I would want to create is something like tryacquired.com. Okay, try acquired. Maybe hi acquired. Ooh, if I can spell it correctly. Go acquired. Right? Test mail acquired.com. So all of these different domains, and Instantly does also create some examples for you that you can use, but these are the types of ones we'll be want to using, right? So these are the burner domains. Now, the reason we want to get these ones is because it doesn't actually matter if they end up going to spam, because after we've been sending cold emails for 6-9 months with high volume all the time, there's a high likelihood they'll eventually start to go to spam, and we'll want to replace them with new ones, which is exactly why we want to avoid using our main inbox, because the likelihood of eventually landing in spam is going to be quite high across a long enough time frame. So we want to make sure we have domains that are going to protect our main one. Once we have that, then obviously we want multiple accounts. I've listed 3 here, for example, per domain. 2 to 3 is perfect. The reason why you don't want 1 is just from a cost perspective. If you have one domain, you need to pay $15 upfront, or $12 or $10, depends where you get it. But I'm talking about Instantly here, it's about $15 for this one domain. And if you only have one email account per domain, it just means your costs add up substantially. Whereas if we split this across 3 email accounts, then effectively it's like $5 of domain cost for each email instead of 15 for one, right? Or 7.5 for 2. The reason why we don't want to have more than 3 email accounts is that reputation is held at a domain level rather than email account level. So let's say my email account 3 starts going to spam. What will happen is actually this domain will start going to spam and these will all start going to spam as well. So if one of my accounts get affected, all of them get affected. So although it would be cheaper technically in terms of domain cost, spreading this across 10 email accounts, right, under one domain, if one of your email accounts goes bad, they all go bad. So this is like the right trade-off between cost and risk. So what the emails potentially would look like, let's use my name. I would have Harry at for one, Harry.L at for another, and Harry Latos maybe for another, right? So these would be all the variations of the email accounts that I'm going with. It's very easy, once again, to set up, and instantly I can show you exactly how you do that. And then each of these emails, once warmed up for at least 14 days, ideally 3 weeks, 4 weeks, they'll be sending 30 emails per day. So 30 emails per day coming from here, 30 here, 30 here. So that's effectively 90 per day per domain. And then we can work back exactly the sort of volume that we need, right? Once again, by reverse engineering or reverse engineering the metrics and success that we need, we'll figure out exactly how many emails we need to send. So let's say to book 3 meetings a month, we need to send 5,000 emails. Let's assume we're sending 22 days out of the week, excluding the weekends. Let's see what that looks like. So 5,000 divided by 22 is around 230 emails per day, right? Per day. Let's divide this by 90. Let's divide this number here, 230 by 90. And what we'll be looking at is 3 domains, right? So we need 3 domains, each with 3 email accounts. And this will allow us to send 5,000 emails a month to potentially book 3 meetings a month, for example, right? Or close 3 clients, sorry, depending on what your metrics are, right? So that's how I would typically work back the numbers to figure out how big our infrastructure size needs to be, figure out how many clients you want to close, work back how many sales calls that looks like, work back how many positive replies you need to get, work back how many replies you need to get that, and then it will tell us how many emails we need to send, and then we simply figure out how many domains we need in order to do that, and that is the size of our infrastructure. So that is the infrastructure at a simple level. However, there's also infrastructures you can get from multiple providers. So providers that you can use are Gmail, Outlook, right? Or SMTP. So SMTP is like private servers, basically. So we'll have Gmail, Outlook, and SMTP. These are the main ones that you can use. Now, there's a lot of noise about which one's the best, which one to use, etc. Truthfully, the ones that I would do if you're just getting started in cold email and you're not hyper advanced is probably just a mix between 50-50 of, that is meant to be a 5, let me just read that, 50-50 between Gmail and Outlook. Okay, so 50% of my inboxes on Gmail, 50% on Outlook. Let's assume I want to have 4 domains, each with 3 accounts. So that'd be 12 inboxes. I would create 6 Gmail ones and 6 Outlook. This basically means that whenever Gmail or Outlook having an issue or a policy change, that you won't lose all of your email accounts. If you're using 12 inboxes, you won't lose all 12, but maybe 6 will need reworking, 6 will need restructuring instead of the full 12. So it just means you limit downtime, right? So by spreading providers, we limit downtime. So limit downtime. This means overall, across a long enough time frame, we'll send substantially more emails and get substantially more results and meetings, right? It's also just a safer way to do it. This is what I recommend if you're sort of a beginner looking to get your first outreach campaign set up. If you're a bit more advanced, then I'd recommend doing a 1/3 split across each of these. So Gmail, Outlook, and SMTP, right? If we're building this on Instantly, then what we can do is Instantly actually give us the Gmail inboxes. So if I log into my Instantly account, I'll show you exactly what this looks like. They will give us the Gmail inboxes and they're done for you set up, but we won't get the Outlook or the SMTP ones. So I'll show you how we can get those from other providers. So let's go to my email accounts here. I'll go to add new and see done for you setup is only Gmail, right? You also can get pre-warmed accounts. This is basically domains that instantly have created themselves that they have warmed up that you can start using straight away. We don't really need to worry about this. This is only if you don't have the 2 or 3 weeks to commit to warming up. These will cost about 2 to 3 times the price, so I wouldn't say it's necessarily worth it. It's most of the time worth just getting done for your email setup and building them on Gmail, right? So go through this, put in your domain name. I would only use .com actually here because it looks a lot more credible. So let's say I go acquired, and then look, we've got happy, acquired, star acquired, next acquired. Select 3 of these, or 5 of these, sorry, in this case, and go through, and I want to have 3 emails at each domain. You can see here, instantly it's created 5 for me. So I'm just going to go and delete the last 2 from each domain, right? So I'd go through and follow that process, and then I could place my order. So it really is as simple as that. That's how we would get the Gmail ones set up on Instantly. So Gmail would be so super easy. It would be done for you set up. If we wanted to get Outlook configured on Instantly, then we would want to purchase through a third-party provider. The one I recommend is called Hypertide. Right, so I'm going to need to move my face out of the way here. Hypertide.io. Okay, there'll be a link in the description to find this. But if you go into Hypertide, these create Outlook inboxes for you and will hook them up to your Instantly account if you put the details in. So you won't actually need to, once again, do anything here. The state that cold email is in right now, you won't need to do any of this manual setup yourself. It's going to be all automated. All of this setup is going to be automated. So it will not take you long at all. Even if you want to set up 1,000 inboxes, it will not take you long. Only if you use these services and save time. Like, it's not worth doing this manually at all at this, in this day and age. So Outlook, I'd use Hypertide, put in your Instantly credentials, and they'll add in your accounts to Instantly automatically. And that's just going to save you a bunch of time, right? So once again, if you're relatively new to this and you're not sending over like 20,000 emails a month, then I would just do this setup. If you are a bit more advanced, then the SMTP I would probably use is MailReef, right? So once again, it's just done for you set up here. So mailreef.com. This is a private server where you can create email accounts, and they are very good. If you're looking to use either of these, Outlook or SMTP, you can actually buy these in SmartLead itself if you're using SmartLead. So SmartLead, you can do it all within the platform. That's one of the advantages to using it. If you're using Instantly, you'll only be able to do the Gmail in the platform. You'll need to buy the Outlook outside of the platform and the SMTP outside of the platform and add them in. Once again, all I would really recommend is your 50-50 split between Gmail and Outlook, and that will put you in really good stead for your infrastructure. Okay. Once we have that, then just some basic common things. We're almost at the end of the video of the infrastructure now around what to do with your actual email accounts. So like I said, we'll need 14 days minimum warm up. And what we do here is really simply, we'll just use the default settings for the warm up in Instantly. So I'm not going to purchase these. I already purchased some email accounts not long ago. I'll show you. Here we go, harry.latos@autoacquired.com, and you can see they've been warming up for 7 days. None of them are landing in spam. They're pretty much all 100% health score, or they are all 100% health score, which is great. All I done was toggle on this warm up, right? So it means my email accounts are getting warmed up, and I'm warming up for 14 days. These are the settings that I'm using. So if you want to take a screenshot of this and use this and copy the exact workflow that I'm doing, feel free to do so. But this is just the default settings within Instantly itself. It's always worked for me, and I'm sure it will work for you too. You don't need to do anything fancy here. Instantly, they have the insight over the whole market. They recommend what is best, right? So we need absolute 14 days minimum warm up with no cold emails. So warm up doesn't mean you sending emails to people just at lower volume or people you know. It means just relying on Instantly's warm up feature. Once that's complete, at absolute minimum 14 days, then I will start sending 20 emails per day for the first week. Okay. After that, if your reply rate is over 1%, which still isn't great, but it just means your email's probably not landing in spam, because even, you could be getting people reply to you saying not interested. That's still fine. It still means you're landing in people's inboxes. Then I would bump up to 30 per day and leave it at this moving forward. But do not do more than 30 per day. Okay. Do not ramp up to more than 30 per day, because you'll start to land in spam. Right? So all of these things will help with the technical sort of infrastructure for email. As I'm going to show you live campaigns in SmartLead and Instantly, I'll show you some more technical things around the actual email itself, like what to include, what not to include, such as no links / attachments, right? But this video specifically is just to do with the infrastructure and how to get that set up. So it really shouldn't take you long, shouldn't take you more than 15 minutes, the length of this video, to get your cold email infrastructure set up. If you have any questions, please direct them to me. I'll be happy to help. But yeah, hopefully this section of the course has been useful, and we're going to dive into the next section now. So the next stage of this completely free cold email course is going to be how to actually build lists that are going to be useful to targeting contacts and actually booking calls, right? Not just super generic lists. We're also going to go over that if volume is your game, but we're going to go over how to build proper lists that you're going to be able to book calls, sales, that you're going to be able to book qualified calls in your calendar with, right? So this section is all about list building. Okay, so this section is all about list building. So there's going to be two main ways we go over this today. A beginner friendly way, and if you're just starting cold emails, I recommend you go with a more basic and broad approach. Okay, basic and broad, which we can also make AI personalized, but just for the sake of making it as cost effective as possible and basically just getting your foot in the door with your first 5 to 10 clients, I would recommend this. And then if you're looking to build more of a really optimized lead gen agency, I'm going to show you a trigger based way to build your lead lists, right? So there's going to be two ways to do this. Let's go through the basic and broad workflow first, and I'll show you exactly in action how to use each of these technologies step by step and how we build this list. Right, so there's some absolutely core fundamental parts to this, and the first one is actually building the list on a platform, right? So the first platform we're going to use is Apollo.io, right? The reason why we want to do this is we can actually use Apollo.io completely for free to build our lists initially, so you don't need a paid Apollo plan here. You can download the free plan to build your list, right? So what we do is we want to use Apollo. I'm going to pull up Apollo now, and you'll sign into it just like this. Whether you have a free plan or a paid plan, it does not matter. And what we want to do is start to put in the criteria of what we're looking for our ICP. So for example, I filled out my ICP that I'm targeting personally for my agency. And this is CEOs, founders, owners, presidents, directors, excluding vice presidents, because there's usually a lot of those, especially in the States, in the UAE, Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Saudi Arabia, and Oman. So the Middle East region. I'm targeting companies between 1 and 50 in size in the staffing and recruiting sector, and I've got 1,300 leads, right? So effectively, you just want to go through step by step and add all of your criteria in around your ICP or ideal client persona in Apollo, right? So it should only take you 5-10 minutes. All you really need to do is job title, location, employees, and industry. If your industry isn't there or you're searching for very specific things, I would use this function here, which is including keywords, because sometimes the industry filters don't actually make it targeted enough to look for what you're going for. Once you have this, you don't actually want to export in Apollo. That's going to be quite an expensive way to do it. What you want to do is sign up for a tool called Apify.com, right? Apify is basically a scraper. So there's a scraper native to Apify called Apollo. Or there's a scraper on Apify called Apollo Scraper. You can see it's here, this one with the fire emoji that I've been running myself. And what you do is effectively we take our Apollo list like this, and we copy and paste this into Apify. If we want to scrape the whole list, we leave this blank. We don't put any like limit in there, and we rename the file. So for example, this was UAE recruitment leads. I'm just going to do this for 10 leads as a test to show you. But what you want to do is you want to just save and start this search. And then this scraper is going to scrape all of the details, so everything here, the email, the phone number, the location, the LinkedIn URL, everything about this list from Apollo for us. Right, so it says request cancel must be at least 500 records, so I wasn't aware of that. So let me show you a run that I literally done earlier. So let me show you a run that I completed earlier. These are aborted because I actually hit the billing cycle, which I've now updated. But this is an example of one that ran from 900 leads, and this is the data that I got back. So you can see here, it's just loading. You'll see the email address, you'll see the phone number, you'll see the contact information, you'll see the organization website, all of this. And look, 900 leads cost me $1.08. Crazy cheap. So I didn't need Apollo to do that. I just downloaded Apify, and this is how I scraped my lead list. So if we go back to here, what we do from Apollo is obviously we take this URL. So we effectively just put this URL into Apify, okay, and scrape. The cost of this is going to be $1.20 per 1,000 leads, right? Per 1,000 leads that we scrape. So very, very cheap. So if you just want to scrape, let's say 5,000 leads, it's going to cost you $6. So it's really nice and cheap to do. Now, once we have that, then we want to export this as a CSV file. I'm literally going to show you step by step every single And once we have this, what we want to do is that we want to export this as a CSV file. Right, so I'm going to show you literally step by step everything you need to do to build this list. This can be a very comprehensive guide, so no guesswork here, don't worry. So you'll need to go into your Apify, click export, and export as a CSV file. Right, so I think it defaults to JSON, so you just want to press CSV and press download. Once you have these leads downloaded, then what we want to do is verify these leads. Right, so Apollo's verification tool isn't actually the very best. What we need to do is use a verification tool to do this. So the verification we're going to be using is called Million Verifier. So verify with Million Verifier. Okay, now if we go into Million Verifier, I'll show you exactly what this looks like. And I believe this costs around $37 per 10,000 contacts. So about $3.7 per 1,000 contacts. So it's a bit more expensive than Apify, but this is really important to actually get the right email addresses. The reason why we don't want any invalid emails, right? Because you might be thinking, oh, we can send 500 emails a day. You know, what's the issue of sending to a few people that have changed jobs or have no longer valid email addresses? It means we'll get loads of bounce backs. And if we get bounce backs, it means that the health of your email accounts will be affected and deliverability will start to be affected as well. So you'll start to land in people's spam inboxes, which we do not want to do, right? So it's very, very important. This was the verification that I done earlier. I think I uploaded all of my lists. I built a few on Apollo, a few on Apify, and combined them all together using ChatGPT. And uploaded them into here. So you can see that 60% of my list, 2022 emails were good. All I do here is I download the good emails only, and then I take them to my email sender like SmartLead or Instantly, and I upload them there, right? If you want to get the absolute maximum out of your list, you can download your risky emails and upload them to a called Scrubby.io, right? So verified Million Verifier, then what we do is we put verified or valid emails to SmartLead or Instantly, depending on what you're using. And it really doesn't matter which one you use, right? Instantly.ai. And then what we can do here is we put risky emails. If you wish to do this, I say if you wish, because I personally don't do this. I get enough leads through my own method of Apollo. Like my list is massive. If I'm targeting all the recruiters globally, I don't need to do this. But only if your list is very small, then I'd recommend do this, right? So risky emails into Scrubby.io, right? And then that would validate these. So then you put validate, and then you would put the valid emails into Instantly.ai or SmartLead, depending on what you're using, right? So this just adds a bit of extra step in the process, but you don't need to do this. You can just upload those valid ones straight into SmartLead and Instantly. This is the most cost-effective way to do this on the market currently. Get your list on Apollo. It's all LinkedIn data, so it's all good data, B2B data. And then what you want to do is, now this will allow you to build a basic list, but what we can do is actually add some personalization to this. So whether it's basic and broad or trigger based, you still might want to add AI personalization to your lead list, right? So let's say we validated it. And what we want to do from here, after we validated it from Million Verifier, if we're not uploading it straight to Instantly, then what we want to do is use another tool called Clay. And I actually am going to have a specific training coming up just on Clay itself, because there's so much that you can tap into with Clay. But you want to use a very specific prompt, and I'm going to put these documents in the description if you want to use them yourself with the exact prompts and exact step-by-steps of what you need to do using Clay. But what you want to do is you basically want to, using clay.com, upload your lead list. So upload CSV, and it will look something like this. If I just share my screen, I can show you again. So what you'll do is you obviously won't probably have these workbooks, but you just go to new workbook and you want to upload the CSV file of the leads that we just downloaded from Million Verifier. So if I take these ones and I uploaded that combined CSV file list that I verified earlier using Million Verifier, I would just press that and I'd upload this into clay.com. You'll see it's just going to take a while to complete and then it will upload. You'll just then click complete import and it will start to import all of our data. So I believe this is actually one that I've already personalized so I can show you what it looks like, but I can show you the sort of prompt you'd want to use as well. So you'll see we have location, email, company name, title, first name, basically all the information from our Apollo scrape that we've cleaned up a little bit. And once we upload it into Clay, we can actually start using our personalization. So you see, I've already created the personalized first lines. These are the types of things that we'll be getting. So it'll be like, congratulations on leading higher direct solutions, national staffing impact on your 30 years experience in the industry, right? So all of these things are specific to them based off their LinkedIn URL or based on their website. The way we want to do this is by adding an enrichment and going to Claygen. So Claygen is an AI web researcher that can actually go on LinkedIn URLs, on websites, and find specific things about this company that we can personalize. So we can say, write me a 15-word or write me a 15-word cold email opener line to this prospect based on their LinkedIn URL. And then I'll put URL in here and their website. And then I'll put in website there and I'll press generate. So that's not me creating the actual prompt. This is AI creating the prompt for AI, but it's just going to sculpt our prompt. And then we can start to actually use Claygen to create these personalized first lines. So we'll just give it a second to create this prompt and I'll share this when it's done. So just whilst it's finishing that, and it really doesn't take long. So you upload our CSV, then what we'll want to do once you've uploaded our CSV file into Clay is enrich with Claygen, okay? With Claygen by creating our prompt. So create AI prompt for first line. So create our AI prompt for our very first line, right? That's what we want to do with the Claygen itself. So if I go back to here, we can see that this is the prompt that is created for us just in a few seconds. It's very complex. And then if you want to make this cheaper for yourself and more cost effective, you can basically select a different model of AI to use. So if you want the most cost effective way of doing it, you can choose GPT-5 Nano or GPT 4.1 Nano. You can also make it way more accurate by using Claude, which is a bit more expensive. So really you can decide which AI model you want to use depending on your cost or performance. But just for this example, I'm just going to save this and I'll save it and not run. And I'm just going to save and run for the first row so you can see what it looks like, right? Using 2 credits. And then you'll have an output something like this of this first line, this personalized first line, right? Which is based off their website and based off their LinkedIn URL. So if you're using Clay, so if you want to use Clay, you can actually get 3,000 free credits by clicking the link in the description, right? And that means you'll be able to, with the GPT-5 model on the Claygen, you will actually be able to personalize 6,000 leads, right? Completely for free, right? So if you want those 3,000 free credits, click the link in the description for Clay. If you already have a Clay plan, then you'll know exactly how this works and that won't be a problem. But this is how I would create the prompt and the first line for the cold emails, right? So that would be the basic and broad way of targeting. Obviously, if you want to personalize and get a little bit more out of your reply rate, I recommend doing that. If not, you can just go with the basic and broad approach. That's the first way you can build your lists. The second way you can do this is trigger based, right? So instead of just basing it off your entire market's ICP, you'll base it off an event that happens. So this will start by using clay.com. Okay, and what we'll do is we're going to try and find events and triggers that would indicate a need for our service. So find event / trigger that indicates a need, right? Indicates need. There's tons of playbooks on Clay that will help you find out, the specific events and triggers that could be useful for you. But I'll just give you a few examples here. Ones could be like funding. So companies that have just received funding might be useful to reach out to. Companies that are hiring could also be useful to reach out to. Key hires. So companies who have just had a new senior leadership hire, like a new CTO or a new, chief marketing officer. Also key fires or key leaves, right? We call it key hires and key fires internally. It's not necessarily a fire, but if someone leaves, we also want to find, if someone, really important leaves at a company, we want to find out who that is and contact the decision maker at that company and say, hey, I noticed XYZ just left. Would you be open to a replacement, or does this mean you'd be open to XYZ solution, right? So we need to find an event / trigger that indicates a need for our service, right? So it could be any one of these things. There's many more things it could be. It could also be the technology stack. So tech stack that the company is using. We would want to use one of these triggers. Then what we want to do is build the list based off this, right? So build list. For this example, I'll show you how we can do it for companies that are currently hiring within Clay, and how we can build a targeted list of companies that are currently hiring right now so we can reach out to them, right? So if I go back to Clay, what I'll do is I'll create a new table from scratch and show you what we can do. So we go to new, we'll go to workbook, and we'll go to find jobs, right? So this is the job title that is open at the company we want to look for. Let's say, for example, we want to sell growth systems to a business. It might help if they're hiring for SDRs. So if they're hiring for sales representatives, this might indicate a need for growth, right? We might also want to look for companies in the United States. You can put all your filters in here and stuff like that. If there's a certain description of the salesperson, so you need them to be, so if you need them to be skilled in a certain technology or a certain language, that's more so for coding, but any keywords about the job that you want to put in, you'd put them in here. You'd put in the employment type if that's relevant, the posting date, companies. If you have already a specific list, if you already have a specific list of companies in Clay, you can look through that and add them in to find jobs that are open at these companies. But effectively, just for this use case, I'm just going to build this list and import this into a new table, right? So we can see that all of these companies have open jobs right now for sales representatives. So what we can do is we can formulate a message that uses these variables, right? So what we might want to do is find contact next after we found the companies. So find contacts at company, and we'll save the results in this table so we can build everything in one table. What we want to do is use the company domain to find the companies that have actually got the job open, and then maybe we just want to put in like CEO, owner, founder, director, etc. right? And then you can continue to add fields and add these in. I'm not going to go through this process right now, but this is exactly how we would do it. If you want to make it a little bit more accurate, you'd want to use the actual LinkedIn URL of the company. So I think it should have it here. Maybe that's the actual job. If you don't have the LinkedIn URL and you're looking to find it, you would need to add another enrichment called enrich company. All right, so we'll put in enrich company here. This will then help us find the LinkedIn URL and all the LinkedIn details about the company, and then we can find the contacts based off their LinkedIn page, right? But once we found the CEO, the founder, the owner, the director, then we can find their email address through another enrichment. And don't worry, I'll have all of step-by-step guides in the link in the description of how you can do this yourself, but you just want to put find email once you've already found those contacts. Right, and we'll use one of these verification, and we'll use one of these tools to find the email for the contact. So let's say it's Wizza, then we'll use the company name, the person's name, the contact's name, and the company domain to find the actual email address for that person, right? So we'll build the list of companies as we have currently open in Clay right now, and then what we want to do is enrich to find LinkedIn URL, enrich to find LinkedIn URL, and then what we're going to do is enrich to find contacts, enrich to find contacts, and then a final enrichment to find email addresses, right? So we want to enrich to find emails. Once we have all of these things, then we actually have the email address of the contacts, we have their name, we have the open job we have when the job has been opened, we have the link to the actual job. Once again, if we want to use Clayagent here, we can get Clayagent to go on the open job itself and notice and write us a personalized first line based off that job. So we could say, hey, John, I noticed your open job for a sales representative at Kinney's. Notice you're looking for someone with 3 years of experience, blah, 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 blah. Just out of interest, we noticed that companies like you who usually hire sales representatives end up spending XYZ on taxes, commissions, blah, blah, blah. Have you ever considered an alternative that will be able to reduce your costs by 80% whilst also generating you more inbound sales? Happy to chat if you think this is worth your time. Right? So you can create a message like that that's highly targeted and personalized based off something relevant that the company is doing right now. In this case, open jobs, right? So we would want to personalize email to contact based on trigger. Once we have all of that things, then once again, we can upload it into our email sending tool, like Instantly or SmartLead. Upload to SmartLead or Instantly.ai. Right, and then we can create our personalized emails at scale that are relevant to the contacts based off their funding round, their open jobs, their key hires, their key fires, their tech stack, etc. Right, so this is just going over the high level of what to do if you're using Clay to create more personalized trigger-based campaigns. We'll work on more videos like this in the future, but that is detailing how to build lists for your cold emails in 2025 to get the maximum return for your spend. So hopefully this one's been useful, and we'll see you on the next section of the course. Thank you. My name is Harry, and I've been able to generate over $1 million in revenue over the last 3 years running cold email for my agency. I see people try and do this all the time, and they don't emphasize the importance of writing a very, very good script in your cold emails. This is the thing that's going to get you the results over anything else, how high converting your copy is, right? And what most people don't know is there's a 4-step framework to writing high converting copy. And I want to show you exactly what that is in this video today. So let's go straight into it. Not wasting any time. It's going to be a no BS guide of how to write high converting cold email copy that is working right now. It's working for my one-to-one coaching clients and people in my school community. So what we want to do is really break it down into these 4 steps, okay? These are the 4 parts of the cold email, right? So the first bit is we want is the intro and personalization. So what we need to do for our cold email to actually stand out is we need to make it highly personalized to the person we're actually sending it to. If it's not highly personalized, with the era we're in right now of cold email, your email will just get ignored. So it needs to be highly personalized. Now, you don't want to spend your time doing this manually, right? Manually will not be a good idea. It's very, very time consuming, and you won't be able to get the amount of volume out that you need to. In order to personalize these emails at scale, you'll need to be using AI for this process. Okay, so use tools like clay.com, which I have more videos on my channel on how to use, or things like make.com or NAN, but you want to be using some sort of AI system to personalize your emails at scale, right? This means, reaching out and saying, hey, noticed the recent case study on your website, good job on that, or noticed your recent round of funding, or noticed you just moved to a new position, right? Something that's personalized and relevant to them, usually either going off their website or their LinkedIn profile, their LinkedIn URL, okay? So the URL of LinkedIn. That's the first step of the cold email, right? Without that, it won't really convert very well. So we need to have intro and personalization. Second part of the email is the core offer, right? This is arguably, after the personalization, the most important part of the email, right? So I'm gonna put a big red line underneath it. Now, how we want to construct our offer is not the features or the things about what we sell. We want to do it in a very particular way that only shows the outcomes of what we're selling, right? So this is what a typical offer would actually look like. Let me break it down for you. So it's if we could help you achieve outcome, could help you achieve outcome. All right, let me just move this out of the way. Outcome, let's put outcome in here. In time frame, so how long it takes us to get that result, without pain, so the things we want to avoid in actually delivering the service, would that be of interest? Okay, this is the framework we want to use to create the offer. Would that be of interest? Right, so we've got, if we could help you achieve outcome in time frame without pain, would that be of interest? Okay, this is obviously very outcome driven, and that's what we need from the cold email. So certain outcomes could be, if you're selling a lead gen system, it could be, let's say, 15 qualified sales calls, right? Qualified sales calls. It could also be saving 8 hours per week, right? If we could help you save 8 hours per week, 8+ hours per week saving. Could also be a cost saving. Let's say you're building an automation or something that's going to help people save cost from team members. It could be save, let's say, $20,000 annually, right? 20K annually, right? The three biggest things to include in the outcome are to leverage cost saving, right? That's one. Cost saving, time saving, number two. Saving. And number three, the most important, is revenue generation. These are the three things any business owner actually cares about: saving time, saving money, and making more money. Right? So if we can articulate our offer in a way that makes it clear that we're doing one of these three things, ideally revenue generation, because this gets the best results, then it's going to make our offer far more attractive. Okay, time frame, we really just need to minimize this to make it as small as possible. If you've seen Alex Hormozi, you've seen his value equation. He has time delay on the bottom half of the value equation. This basically means the quicker we can achieve the result, the more valuable it's going to be to the prospect, right? So if we could help you, generate 15 qualified sales calls in the next 27 days without, and then pain is something they're currently doing that they hate doing, right? So this is going to come off the back of some market research. So current pain, let's say for the business we're reaching out to, is cold calling, right? We know it's a traditional industry that does a lot of cold calling, but they hate it. Then we would put that in there, right? Or it could be manual data entry if we want to save them time, right? So if we could help you achieve an extra 15 qualified sales calls in the next 27 days without making a single cold call, would that be of interest? Notice how we haven't described a single bit about how we do it. We haven't described any of the features. It's all been outcome and benefit driven. And that's how we want to articulate the offer, right? However, this is likely not going to be enough to actually get your to get responses from your cold email, especially in this day and age, because there's so much noise out there. So the third part is actually how we start to leverage this attention that we're building. And this is with a lead magnet. Okay, so we go with the AI, personalized intro and first line. Then we go over offer. If we could help you generate an extra 15 qualified sales calls in the next 27 days without making a single cold call, would that be of interest? And then we pitch our lead magnet, right? So our lead magnet is something we can give to them completely for free to build trust, because especially in this market now, especially with cold email, it's a complete trust crisis. No one can trust anyone in the market. So what we need to do is give them stuff for free that's very valuable, high value, and that will build trust. Okay, that will build trust. Some examples of what you can do: say you're selling lead gen systems, is maybe give away 500 free leads. I know this is an approach that is working extremely well to book calls, and it gives a lot of value. So you could say, like, if we could give you a list of 500 free leads that match your ICP, would that be of interest? Or do you mind if we jump on a call to generate you a list of completely free 500 free leads that you can use to start doing outreach to? What this does is it gives some of your service away for free, but you still need to actually implement what you're giving them. You're giving them 500 leads, but you still need to have the implementation of how you're going to use these 500 free leads to get the most out of them. This is one, if you're running a lead gen agency, that will definitely work for you, and this is a bit of a cheat code in the market right now, giving out 500 free leads. Other things you can do, I'll give out like audits, strategy sessions for free, all right, free consultations, okay? I would probably avoid the likes of ebooks and PDFs. People just don't want them, they don't care. Give them something that's actually valuable to them. 500 free leads, a completely free audit, a free consultation, a free blueprint or roadmap. Things that also work well here are like Loom videos. So do you mind if I send you a personalized Loom video going over how we would implement a strategy like this to help you sign another 10 sales calls next month? That's easy for people to say yes to, because they're not basically saying yes to the call. They're saying yes to just getting more information from you, right? To more info, which is a much easier thing to do and less friction, right? So if you look at it from in terms of what a funnel would look like, right? Let's say a book a call funnel looks something like this. It's quite a tight funnel, and we get a lot of leads in the top. We do a lot of outreach. We only get this much output. And that's because we're squeezing the funnel tight and we're only getting this many people who would actually commit to calls. Whereas if we're just doing something like offering a lead magnet, our funnel might look something like this. We get way more throughput out of the bottom. Okay, and that's because it's a more frictionless funnel. It's easy for people to say yes to a lead magnet versus just jumping on a call. And then the final thing we actually need is the CTA, right? So we have our offer, we have our lead magnet, and we have a CTA. So how do we actually want to do this? The CTA can be tied in with the lead magnet or tied in with the offer, but this is usually like, would that be beneficial if we send that over? Or would you be interested for us to send over this lead magnet? Or would you like more information? Okay, what we want for the CTA is to make it very soft. Once again, coming back to this idea of friction, we want to remove friction in the sales process and have a soft CTA, so we basically get more people to say yes. The more yeses we have from cold email, the more calls we'll book, the more sales we'll make, right? Eventually over time, as lead flow is not your issue and you're getting tons and tons of leads, you actually want to start adding in more direct CTAs and add in more friction to the process to get more qualified buyers at the bottom, okay? We don't need to worry about that now, especially if this is one of your first outbound campaigns you're running or you're looking to scale it up. We just need to get more people to say yes, right? So you want a nice soft CTA. And one thing to avoid in your CTA is do not pitch a call, right? Do not say, hey, let's jump on a call and find a time that works for you so we can go over this. People do not want to commit to a call. That's why we're doing the lead magnet in the first place. So as long as your CTA is soft and easy for people to say yes to, you will get results from this. So this is literally the 4-step copy framework that I'm using right now in my agency to book calls every single day. And it's worked for us, obviously, to generate over $1 million in revenue. So if that's of interest to you, feel free to join the completely free school community where I'm going to be answering all of your questions on a daily basis. I have another YouTube channel where I'm answering all your questions completely for free. Feel free to join that. And if you are interested in working with me one-to-one, I'll also have a link where you can book a call and we can go over that as well. If not, thanks for tuning in and I'll see you on the next video. Bye-bye. If you are currently running cold email, you will be very familiar with this process if you have not got this follow-up system dialed in. What will be happening is you'll be sending emails, right, to your leads. You'll be getting replies. You'll even be getting people saying they're interested, right? So you're getting interest from here. But what's happening is you're not able to book any calls. So no calls are being booked, right? Despite how many positive replies or interest you get, you're just not booking calls. And this is because a lack of the follow-up process. Right? This is actually a killer for a bunch of cold email agencies, and I was struggling with this for a long time myself before I implemented this system. So this is mainly for when you're actually starting to get replies, you're getting interest from your leads. How do we actually follow up with them properly to book them into a call, right? So there's a few fundamentals, right? Let's go through 3 fundamentals of what we actually need to do to get leads to book into our calendar once they've responded positively. So the first one is going to be speed, right? Speed to lead time is the biggest determining factor of whether your client or your prospect will book a call with you. Right, so the more we can reduce this speed to lead time, so the more we can increase this speed to lead time and reduce the time to lead, the more success we're going to have, right? This is because I'm sure you've seen it. It looks a graph something like this, right? People's interest tails off absolutely massively, very, very quickly. Right, so let's say this is interest versus time along here, and interest. This will even happen with you, I'm sure. If you've made it this far in the video, that's very good, and it obviously indicates you've got a lot of interest in cold email. But most people will have a bunch of interest right at the start, right? And then over time, as time goes on, their interest will diminish massively, right? So we need to capitalize on the maximum amount of interest possible, and we do that by reaching out to people in the shortest time frame possible. Right, so the quicker speed to lead we can get with leads, the more success we're going to have from cold email. That is the very first thing. So if you can get back to leads within 15, 20 minutes, you're going to have significantly more success versus getting back to them a day or 2 days, 3 days later. And something that I've seen with students that I'm coaching is people are just afraid of what to say and they think they won't say the right thing. The chances are any response is going to work better than no response, right? So you need to actually just get back to your leads as quickly as possible, put a calendar link in, put some lead magnets, don't overthink it, just give them some free value and ask if they're open to a call. And most of the time, if you get back to them quickly enough, they will jump on a call, right? The second thing is personalized touch points, right? So how personable we can be. So if a lead has replied to us through email, and we get back to them through email, that's only ever in one channel, and it means it's less likely they will book a call with you if we just continue to follow up through email. So what we can actually do, if you have capacity to do so, if you have a team of setters or even yourself, I highly recommend to do this, is actually calling leads. This makes the whole outreach system far more personable, and it means we'll actually be able to book way more calls. And I'll show you what this system sort of looks like in a second. But making our personable replies, it could even be if we can't call, but making our replies more personable is going to help us substantially. It doesn't have to just be a call. If you physically cannot make a call, then maybe a personalized Loom video to them saying their name, going on their website, makes the whole system and the whole process more personable and more likely for them to book in a call. And the third thing is consistency with follow-up, right? So consistent follow-up. We don't just want to reply to someone once, right? And if they don't book in a call, that's it, they're gone forever. People are busy, timing is a huge thing. So we're going to need to consistently follow up with leads, right? So let me show you what an example of this actually could look like. So let's say we're running our cold outreach campaign through email and we get a reply. So our lead replies and they're interested, right? They're showing interest. What we can then do is we need to make sure we have automation set up to automatically notify us that this lead has come through, right? So automatic notification of lead. Automatic notification of lead. If you're currently using Instantly, this will already be set up for you. If you're using SmartLead, you won't have this luxury, so you need to set up a system or an automation that will do this. If we can get notified instantly, it means we can just jump on this as quickly as physically possible, right? As soon as we're notified, as soon as physically possible, right? But best if we can do it within 30 minutes. What I recommend for absolute maximum results is to call this prospect, right? So call prospect. And reply to email, an email reply, right? So let's say our email looks like, hey, name, just wondered if you could handle an extra 12 appointments next month with sales qualified leads. I recorded your personalized Loom video going over how our system works. Do you want me to send it over? They might say, yeah, let's see the system. Then what you want to do is, like I said, as soon as possible, within 30 minutes, send over the Loom video or the lead magnet or the resource that you had and give them a call directly after. So we can reach the prospect and say, hey, is this so-and-so? Oh, I noticed you just replied my email looking for the lead magnet. I've just sent it over. Now I've got you on the phone. Do you mind if I ask you a few quick questions, just for 5 minutes, right? And then we want to qualify their interest for the thing we're selling. So if we're selling through our cold email more leads, more appointments, say, okay, is business development or is client acquisition a priority for you right now? What does it currently look like? And then you'd go for your pitch. Would you be open to a quick 15, 20 minute chat tomorrow or day after? Try and book that call in as soon as possible. We can go over the system of how we can generate you more calls on a performance basis. Is that something you'd be interested to, right? Obviously, if they don't reply or they don't pick up, then we need to go into our follow-up sequence, right? So this is what our follow-up sequence would probably look like, right? So follow-up. If they don't pick up the call or they don't reply to this and we've sent over the Loom video, then what we want to do is follow up basically every single day for 7 days, right? So the email reply. If no response from that, then we want to do follow up 1, right, after 1 day. Then we want to do follow up 2 after another 1 day after follow up 1, right? And we're just basically going to repeat this process. So follow up until we have like follow up 7 after 7 days total. All right, so basically following up every single day for 7 days. And what we want to do with follow up is a mixture between just quick nudges. So like basically 50-50 of nudges and value. So first email could be, hey, not sure if you saw my Loom video, just bumping this up. It would be great to jump on a call or have a chat, right? And then the follow-up after that, we don't just want to say the same thing every time. Hey, did you see my video? Hey, did you see my video? Hey, do you want to jump on a call? We also want to lead with value as well. So with the value, what are the things we can send them? We can send them case studies if we have them. If we don't have case studies, then I would send process breakdown videos, all right? So how your process actually works, whether you're selling AI voice agents or whether you're selling lead gen, whatever you're selling, create a short, couple minute Loom video breaking down your process that you can send over your prospects in the follow-ups. What you can also do is send over articles. So you can say, hey, name, I was just reading this article about how recruitment agencies are implementing AI and beating their competitors. It reminded me of you. I wanted to send it over. Is implementing AI or is generating more leads still a priority for you? Right? But I would mainly go with these sorts of 3 things. You can also go with like PDFs, guides, articles, etc. PDFs, guides. Anything that's going to be genuinely valuable to the prospect, send that over in the follow-up process. The main thing is we want to be following up for 7 days. If we follow this process, we are pretty much guaranteed to book more meetings than just the send a reply and hopefully they book in, right? If we can be calling up leads, that's going to make the biggest difference by far. If we can't, then we just need to be on it with the follow-ups. But the biggest thing that's going to make a difference in terms of getting leads to book in after they reply to our email is making it multi-channel. All right, so some other ways we can make it multi-channel if calling isn't an option is to follow up with the lead on LinkedIn. So send them a LinkedIn connection as well as soon as they respond to our email, potentially WhatsApp, right? Or any other form of social media that we can find where we can say, hey, noticed your reply to my email, just wanted to make sure you got this valuable resource. Would it make sense to have a chat about this in more detail? The main thing for people beginning this sort of process is probably just getting in their own head about following up too much. You might think you're following up too much by doing this, but the truth is you're absolutely not. You're doing people a service if they've opted into a lead magnet or asked to receive something for free or want to jump on a call. You're genuinely going to be able to help them. So you want to make sure that you get through to them in any way you can, whether that's LinkedIn, calling, WhatsApp, just email follow-ups. But the more we can spread ourselves across multiple channels, the more success you'll see. So overall, those 3 things will make a huge difference in terms of actually getting prospects on the call with you, right, after they've expressed interest. First one is speed. The quicker we can get back to leads, the bigger difference that's going to make. The second one is make it more of a personable reply. Calling is going to be the most personable, highest impact thing we can do. After that, personalized Loom videos or connect with people on LinkedIn, etc. And the third thing is just be consistent with follow-up. People are so busy, I'm sure you're busy as well, that they're not just going to jump on the call and book in the call from the very first email we send them, right? Some will, and that's going to be fantastic, but we need to expect that we need to follow up with leads a lot more. So if you follow those 3 things, you should be able to get more meetings in your calendar from your cold email campaign.